Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Angela. And um, I just wanted to have a candid conversation about the my year, uh, the card of the year, my card of the year. So last April, I woke one day with the overwhelming need to purchase a tarot deck. Didn't understand it, couldn't fathom why. So I bought a tarot deck and didn't go over well. It was probably September, late August, early September before I actually started um, connecting with a tarot deck, a different tarot deck, and um, really diving into it. So, um, probably the end of December, I noticed people were doing year ahead spreads and talking about their year card, and I'm like, how did they even figure that out? Well, then I saw a video on Lisa from Supportive Tarot. It's just Lisa Pappas now. Pappas. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry, Lisa, if I'm not. Um, where she was doing, she had this book, and I can't remember the name of the book. I didn't bring it out here. Um, I think it's Tarot for Yourself. It's learning tarot. It's learning the ins and outs, your card, your soul card, and all that. And so I wound up doing a year ahead card, or the year card, which is the Lover's card from my Light Seers Tarot. It's the one I chose to do my year ahead with, and the deck I chose to do my year ahead with, and some other things with. So I pulled this Lover's card, and it kind of hit me at the end of last year that um, I'm kind of empathic. I say this because um, I grew up in a very abusive home. I grew up learning to shut emotions down very early on in life. And before I drew that card, because I had been told you are a medium, why aren't you using these gifts? And I'm like, I don't know. Um, so last year, before I started learning tarot, I actually dove into um, psychic abilities, being a medium. I didn't know there was a difference between being just psychic and being a medium. Um, uh, I didn't know that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are medium. Um, I didn't know any of this going into last year. Uh, so I did a lot of reading, a lot of uh, discovering of myself with things, and I actually bought "You Are a Medium" by Sherry Dillard. She actually has a book called "You Are a Psychic," which I don't have the paper copy, but I have the ebook version, which is on audiobook as well. So I've listened to this book multiple times, like 10, 15 times. I've listened to it, I've read it myself as well several times. And almost every time it hits me, there's certain things in there that hit me differently. And that's because I think because this soul journey, this spiritual journey I'm on, is different every time I'm listening to it, or every time I'm reading it, it's different. Or I'm expanding in some way that I don't recognize. Um, so I was listening to this last week, and I'm trying to find the paper I just shoved in there. I was listening to this again last week, and we all have psychic abilities, just like our five senses, but they're a psychic sense. There's the only two I really um, talk about is claircognizance and clairvoyance because I have both of those abilities. And with the book "You Are a Psychic," she goes into detail on there's different types of psychics. There's mental psychics. There's emotional psychics. There's spiritual psychics. There's physical psychics. Just like there's a mental medium, there's a emotional medium, there's a physical medium, and there's a spiritual medium. There's also those four categories in being a psychic. And as I'm listening to this book, she starts talking about the mental intuitive, all about it's being all about the mind. And there's a test in there that you can take and that pinpoints which one you are. And I am a mental medium. Hands down, I knew it before I read the book. There was just something about when I heard the words mental intuitive, I knew for a fact that's what I was. That's why claircognizance and clairvoyance are dominant within me because I am a mental medium. And those are two of the players that um, are predominant in a mental medium. Like I think a spiritual, physical medium or physical psychic is or intuitive is um, they can do what's what's I just had the word on my tongue and now it's gone. Where they can touch an object and know its history, know things about it that no one else does. So there's different things for different the different groups of intuitives. Um, but the problem with the mental intuitive is they can overlook things because they need proof. They're always seeking proof. And when I first started my spiritual journey, I was always questioning everything, and I was like, okay, I just need one more sign that this is right. One more sign that this is right. Now, one more sign. It was never enough. It was never to the point where I was like, okay, tell your mind that you've gotten all the proof you need. You don't need to prove it anymore. But being a mental medium, that a mental psychic, mental medium, you can get hung up on those things, and because you're always so in your head that um, you forget about your heart and your feelings and stuff. Um, and she talked about that she often paired mental intuitives with emotional intuitives because they're quite the comical pair because the person that deals with their heart doesn't understand the mental aspect of it, and the mental intuitive doesn't understand the emotional aspect of it. And I know I'm empathic. I've had instances throughout my life that proves that. However, when I say I'm a broken empath, because of the history I've had, the past that I've had, I think it kind of broke down that empathic ability a little bit to where because I had to learn to shut off everything so early on that I went through my entire life without really feeling things. Like if somebody breaks my heart, they're just dead to me. I don't deal with the feelings. I don't deal with the emotions of it all. When someone passes away that's a relative, I know I should be sad. I'm not. It's just this part of me that I shut down very early on because of how I was raised. And I think that has hindered me, especially with my spiritual journey. And it didn't hit me until last week because she started talking about um, they need to open up their heart to fully open up mentally. This is why, and this to me is why it put into perspective of why the Lover's card was my card of the year. Because I'm at this point where, yes, I have all these gifts. Yes, I have all the tools at my disposal, tarot, pendulums. I have all these things that I could be doing with them. But my heart is what's keeping me from expanding on that because I've shut down everything emotionally so long that it's almost I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's almost like it's impossible, an impossible feat. It's a hill that is so big that I'm having to climb straight up that at times I give up because I'm just like, what's the point? I can't climb this mountain. And I really feel strongly now that this is why, and this was my kind of epiphany um, last week when I was reading this book again for the millionth time. It feels like, and it never dawned on me that this is why the Lover's card is my card of the year because this is the time I'm in the same right timeline of what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be at, but my head and heart, there's a disconnect there, and it's crazy because I've had all these synchronicities last week and a week and a half. Last week, my week ahead spread, there was talk of balance. This week, when I did my week ahead spread, there was talk of balance. And I don't think it's meaning balancing spiritual and material life, or your day job and your home life. It's literally telling me to learn to balance the head and heart, because it is stopping me, because I'm not balancing those two, and I'm always only in my head. It's stopping me from being this great mental intuitive, this great mental medium. And it just kind of hit me in a really rough way the other day when the light dawned, and I was just like, wow, I'm the person holding me back, because I've had this whole year of synchronicities, of tarot cards, of card of the days, of week ahead spreads, telling me over and over and over and over repeatedly to balance these two things out, and I just haven't. And it's part of it is because I'm not sure I know how. So it just kind of, I feel like I'm in a catch-22 at this point. Um, and again, I wrote it. It's all about the balance. Just feel the love. I have an overdeveloped thinking because I've learned to block this part of it off. My thinking goes far beyond what it should. When I think of something bad, I think the worst, the absolute worst of what could possibly go wrong. Even though it doesn't happen, I'm thinking that and stressing over it the whole time, instead of letting my heart feel what I'm feeling in that moment. Um, and another thing that I saw in there was, when I was 16, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and I grew up with these holy rollers, with people speaking in tongues, and then someone else interpreting it. But to me, that was a spiritual thing. And then when I started my spiritual journey, I realized it's not so different than what I'm doing now. Um, and I was told by someone spoke in tongues one Sunday, and the preacher actually interpreted what they were saying and speaking in tongues. And they came to me and said, God has called you to do his work. He wants you to spread his word. And so at a very young age, I was told, you are meant to do God's work. You are meant to spread the word of God. You're meant to preach his word. And it was so terrifying. I was like, first of all, I don't speak in public. I don't talk in public. It took me forever to start this YouTube channel, because once I get to talking, yes, I'm a talker. But it takes a long time for me to get comfortable with somebody to do that. And I'm still, most of the time, uncomfortable with doing a YouTube channel when no one's watching. I'm recording it ahead of time. But the thing that stuck with me always was that I was supposed to be a teacher, a leader, an influencer to other people about God. And since I started my spiritual journey, I've actually keep hearing that over and over and over, like someone's reciting it to me day in and day out. You're a leader, you're an influencer, that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to lead. You're meant to be this spiritual being that no matter what, you will touch others and change others' views on certain things. And since I've started the spiritual journey, and learning tarot and all this, I've had to do away with a lot of old beliefs, a lot, because none of it makes sense to me anymore. Like, I've moved beyond, my soul has moved beyond what I grew up with, what I was taught, what I was trained for. And so I honestly think, yes, I may be supposed to be a spiritual influencer, a spiritual leader somehow, but I don't think it's the way the Pentecostal church told me it was supposed to be. And I totally feel, even now with having this conversation with my phone, I feel this overwhelming, like, joy at the prospect of being this influential leader, someone people look up to, someone that other people are like, wow, she came out of this and she did this and did that. And I feel that in me, but there's always this disconnect. And so when I was reading the book, You Are a Psychic Medium, or You Are a Psychic, last week, and it hit me yes, I'm a mental intuitive, but I'm supposed to be all of those um, things. I'm supposed to be a mental intuitive. I'm supposed to be a emotional intuitive. I'm supposed to be a physical intuitive. I'm supposed to be a spiritual intuitive. I am supposed to be all of those things, but the mental intuitive part of me is um, what can I say? Is it's there, but it's the dominant one. So yes, I have spurts of things happening, and that's why this whole past year I'm just like, I feel like every time I take 2 steps forward, I'm taking 3 steps back, because all of a sudden everything will just stop. And that's why, because it's coming up against that emotional part of me that doesn't want to be emotional, that I've learned from a very young age, and trained myself. Emotions are for chumps. You can't show emotion. You can't show feeling. And I'm realizing in the last week and a half, with all this synchronicities and things going on, that if I do want to continue my practice, my spiritual journey, I have to figure out a way to open all that back up and start feeling things and start voicing those feelings and making other people listen to what I have to say, and the when I have an emotion that comes up, because stifling them down has never worked. I mean, it worked for a while. It was like a temporary band-aid until we're at the point I'm at now, where I feel like I can never continue. I'm still butting up against this brick wall that I crafted around my own heart. And so that was my little epiphany thing that I had, especially with the Lover's card being my year card. As soon as I pulled that card, I knew, or as soon as I figured out that was my year card, I knew it was significant. And this whole year I've been racking my brain around. I'm like, yeah, it just means I need to open my heart up more. But, and yes, that is the point of it all. But this last week and a half, it really hit home. This will never happen, or this will never happen unless you do the work, unless you start opening up emotionally. This will never work. Um, and so that's why, like I said, I've felt lost quite a bit this year, because I'm like, I feel like I'm having moments of clarity, of spirituality, of clairvoyance, claircognizance, all these things happening, and then all of a sudden it just stops. And I realize the second I start getting emotional about it, the second I start feeling something about all these things happening, it stops. Um, and I've been doing it for so long, I'm not even aware that I'm doing it anymore, which is the problem. Um, so, yes, I decided to do this little video for you guys. Um, it's kind of like my first step into showing a little piece of me, showing a little bit of my feelings and emotions. I don't know if it's coming across. I don't know if it's helping anybody out there that feels the same way, but I just had to come on here. I've been wanting to do this video since this happened last week, but I've been putting it off, putting it off, and that's another emotional thing. I realized I put things off because I don't want to deal with them, because it is something that may trigger an emotion. So I put it off, and so at this moment I had extra time on my hands, so I decided I would go ahead and do the video, because the voices in my head won't shut up until I do. So this was my epiphany video, my year ahead card. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you are alerted to any new videos in the future. And if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, please don't hesitate to comment below. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.